Thank you guys for tuning into this video. What you guys are going to see in this video is a home game after the series. If you guys are curious how my series went, I didn't do any videos during the series. I was really focused on just grinding and trying to be a good host, if you will. We ended up losing about $2,000 for the series. At one point, we were up 18 or 17 and change. We had 4 day 2s and a day 3. We learned a lot. And I think we're going to do things even better and bigger next year. It's not very often I get to play Pot Limit Omaha with people who are either inexperienced or people who are fairly new to like double board bomb pots or whatever the case may be. And that's not to say that you're guaranteed to win when you're playing with a group of people that you don't recognize that much or that you recognize are used to playing Hold'em. And in the video, you're going to see double board bomb pot, and it's interesting to watch because when we started the game, 2 people bitched that they had never played double board bomb pots before. My heart sank a little bit. I was so grateful I got to drive 3 hours to play this game, because when you drive 3 hours one way to play a game, you really need to make sure it's worth your while. They had a good time, most of them. I mean, there was a couple that didn't, but when you play at home games, you really have to be wary of a few things. Make sure you're playing at a home game that you trust. I will tell you, I get invited to home games all the time, especially when traveling. At most places, I don't go to the home games. I will go to home games if it's somebody that I know, if it's a referral from somebody that I know. But I've been held at gunpoint on 2 separate occasions, and I've held people at gunpoint on 2 separate occasions. One of them happened to be at a home game, so that's for another story. But I always appreciate when somebody runs a home game, and I don't ever mind paying a reasonable rake. And I guess part of the reason why I've skipped some home games in Texas is I find out the rake is like $100 a pot. Yeah, so when somebody has a home game and it's reasonable rake, and they have a professional atmosphere, they provide food, they provide beverage, they have good, chips, cards, the dealer's professional, and most importantly, they have a secure place. I appreciate that. So to the host that had me, I appreciate that person a lot. And I appreciate everybody who showed up. And keep in mind, when I have these games, or when I go to these home games, because I've had a couple home games where people saw the videos afterwards and they're like, you were really critical. I'm not necessarily being critical. Like, I understand the majority of people who go to home games are not professionals. I understand most people who go to a home game are not expecting to run into a seasoned fucking professional. I understand some of them do. They're like, oh, this one pro is going to be there. Okay. But for the most part, when people go to a home game, they don't usually expect to run into too many pros, maybe very active recs, or maybe they might run into 1 or 2 pros and that's about it. But I guess what I'm saying is I'm not being overcritical of the recreational players who were there and who lost. Let's be honest, recreational players are going to lose. Hell, even pros lose quite a bit. But my point is recreational players understand that when they're coming to a home game, they're getting entertained. And as long as you're entertaining them, answering questions, I had one guy who, he was one of the 2 players who did not understand double board very well, eventually sat directly to my left. And then him and I had a few conversations about it. Of course, I told him to order my book. At the end of the night, he was like, yeah, I only lost a couple hundred. He says, I feel really good about only losing a few hundred when there is that much action on the table. I mean, we had some 4K pots, and Wayne and I, for the rest of the year, we are going to be focusing. I'm going to still be doing vlogging and stuff. He will be too, but we're also going to be starting up a podcast. I'm pretty excited about it. Wade's pretty excited about it, and I think it's something that's missing, not just in our community, but just in general, and it'll be interesting. Stay tuned for that. But maybe I'll announce on my 200th cash game analysis video what kind of podcast we're going to be doing. Leave a comment down below and tell me what you think a 200 video cash analysis video should be. We're one away. I mean, this is $199, and I honestly didn't even give it that much thought. We've got over 400 videos out there between chalkboard videos, cash analysis videos, life of a grinder videos. I appreciate all of you guys. Maybe that's what episode 200 will be about, just an appreciation video to all that have watched me, both my trolls and people who appreciate me. I mean, that's what I did all those selfies for right in the beginning. I mean, so many people at Vegas, hey, I love your videos, I watch your videos, or people are like, hey, I just watched your video for the first time 3 days ago because I'm playing deuce to seven triple draw for the first time in my life in this $600 or $1,500 buy-in tournament. I appreciate all of you. I really do. The people who came up to me and told me how much of a difference I've made in their lives, in their bankroll. People telling me they love seeing me, that I'm pure entertainment. By trolls. None of my trolls came up to me and said, hey, Professor, I'm one of your trolls. But I think I recognized a couple of them just based on their mannerisms towards me. It's okay if you're one of my trolls and you say, hey, Professor, I'm one of your trolls. It'll be a great conversation because I'd be interested why troll, bro. I'm going to go finish making this video. I'm only like, I don't know, 4 or 5 hands in, and I counted 16, and I'm hoping that I end up with only 10. But yeah, if you haven't already, go ahead and hit the like and subscribe. Editing a 15-minute video takes about 4 to 6 hours worth of work, believe it or not. And so to do these longer format videos where I'm like 30, 40 minutes in, sometimes that takes like 20 to 24 hours worth of editing. So please hit a like and subscribe. Share it to your friends. It's been a while since I posted. We're back from Vegas. We had a profitable week last week. The time off was much needed, bro. Like, time off. You get burnt out on poker, you get burnt out on editing, you just get burnt out on everything. I am going to Bali this year, nothing poker related. I'm just going, wife is doing a photographer's, tour or some shit. I go to Bali for $3,000 for 2 weeks, everything included. I said yes. So you won't see me at the WPT in December because from Thanksgiving until almost Christmas, I'm going to be in Bali. So I've never been to Bali. Wife and I are going to spend 3 or 4 nights in Tokyo beforehand since we're already going to be on that side of the pond. Our contract with the Venetian's not getting renewed after July. I think that happened with a lot of vloggers. I still have a great relationship with the Venetian. Matter of fact, I'm still trying to work out a deal with Jungle Man and doing a heads-up match there. I'll always have a good amount of respect for other poker players and the content that they put out, even though I like some of his perspectives and points about content creators versus poker players. I was having an argument, not really an argument, it's more like a tit for tat with Mr. Kessler on X again. We do this about once a year. First of all, I want everybody to understand I have the utmost respect for Alan Kessler. Motherfucker grinds like nobody's business. He plays like 300 tournaments a year. So whatever criticisms I have of him and whatever criticisms he has of me, you have to understand I have very much respect for the man. I just say things that I believe are true. Like, whatever pissed him off, I said, you've been playing the same for 20 years. You haven't adjusted your game. That's why you don't ship too many tournaments or something like that. And of course, he likes to bring up Hendon Mob, which doesn't show profitability. But it's funny because throughout this week, like I had a couple sessions online where I lost 1,000, then I won like 4K, then I won 3K or won 2K or whatever. And I even live streamed a couple of them. And I was like, there's 2 different portions of our industry. And anybody in our industry knows that. There's the cash and there's tournaments. And I thought, it's about being profitable, about being in different pay lines. It's about being able to pay bills and do what you do for a living that you absolutely love. And just because he loves poker in tournament format doesn't make him any worse or better than me because I love it in cash format. It's just the notoriety is a little bit different. And that's okay. You know, I'm okay with that. That's why I started getting into tournaments, is to have a little bit more notoriety. And 15th in Big O was pretty good, but boy, did I fuck that one up. That's one that I wish I played differently. But you know what? From failures, we learn. From successes, not so much. So I hope you guys sit back, kick back. I hope you've watched all of this introduction, because it's been a while, people. And I understand that I'm a little bit of a diva, and I will tell you, you can order these hats now on Etsy. If you'd like to order a custom-made felt top hat, tie-dyed, I've got lots of different colors. They're $400 a piece. They're going to be made by yours truly. I'll message you on WhatsApp what your head size is and how to take your head measurement and everything else. I think it's pretty cool, because when I was in Vegas, and I'm not saying this to promote the sale of the hat, but I got more compliments on this goddamn hat than I've gotten on anything in my entire life. And everywhere I go, I get compliments on it. And I tell you what, like, I walked the strip. You walk the strip once with the tie-dye top hat. One, you're going to be offered cocaine no less than 3 times during your walk, guaranteed. Somebody will come up to you and try selling you, yeah, white girl, Tony Montana stuff, whatever, you know. But 2, you're going to get compliments, and people are going to turn and look. And I hate to say this, and I don't really hate to say this, but guys, especially if you're short. Now, I'm not short. I'm 6 foot, right? But a lot of women have height requirements, and maybe this is like a foreshadowing thing on some things I talked about earlier. But dude, the top hat makes you look taller, and the ladies look at you longer, and you stand out. So I don't know, if you can afford a $400 hat, try it out. I'll tell you what, if you wear it for a week and you don't get 3 or 4 or 5 compliments a day on it, I'd probably just buy it back from you. Yeah, that's my guess. I don't know. At least for me, it happens all the time. And I live in a rural area. God, it's a gorgeous day. But yeah, sit back, enjoy this video, everyone. I appreciate you. Thank you for the likes and subscribes. We are on our 199th cash analysis video, and what better way to start things off than a home game where not too many people have played double board bomb pots, and yours truly was invited, and one of the first hands of the night that we get involved in is with a double board bomb pot. Now you can see here we have ace 10 deuce 6 with the suited ace 10 of spades, deuce 6 of hearts. On the first board, we don't have much. We do have a gut shot. We do have a 6-high flush draw. I'm not counting a 6-high flush draw as the nuts, but when you do play double board bomb pots, you have to figure out what kind of bets your opponents are betting, signifying what kind of hands that they're playing. So for example, when there's $60 in the pot, anytime somebody starts off with about a quarter to a half pot size bet in double board bomb pot, that usually signifies they have some kind of draw. Now both of these boards are super draw heavy. I'm not going to go anywhere because who knows what can develop. We do have backdoor hearts. There are some times when our hearts are good, but even when they're not, they can be blockers. And I'm also playing with inexperienced players here. So with all that in mind, with this hand, the first opponent decides to lead out for $25. Now, one thing you'll notice is you'll see above where it says hero, the cap on this is $400. Now, when you play double board bomb pots, you can even have them with a cap or no cap. Because we were playing with 2 people who'd literally never played double board bomb pots, I suggested let's put a cap on it for a couple of reasons. One, we don't want somebody to lose like $1,000 or $2,000 and have a sour taste in their mouth for double board. And 2, I do know that there's a different strategy. So we go 3 ways to the turn, and it comes queen of diamonds and 4 of clubs. Now we have gin. We have the nut straight up top, and we end up having a gut shot down below. So we end up betting full pot. We're really trying to pressure our opponents here. And now keep in mind, people who aren't experienced, they're going to call a little bit lighter. People who are a little bit more experienced, like if they're only drawing to one board, they'll end up mucking it. Now, I'm quite informed that while I'm playing, if the cat is at the table, you do have to pet the cat. Now, this cat has no eyes, and you can't tell it, and I'll show it to you later on in the video.
Kitty, this is a rule. Even if you're in a hand, when the cat comes up here,
You just gotta pet the kitty. This is where we're at so far. All right, getting back into the action. Now, we did have one caller before I looked at the board, and we're going to end up having two callers going into the river. So whenever you're dealing with three people going into the river, this creates what I call is a pickle position. If you're not familiar with the pickle position, I'd recommend ordering my book on Amazon. It's called How Not to Get Scooped. It's $30. It covers double board bomb pots, both ones with caps and one without caps. But as you can see on the river, the top board, nothing changed, 9 of diamonds. River puts out a club, 3 of clubs, but it does give me a 6 high straight draw. Now, because we are three ways, I bet the maximum, which is $240. Again, this is a cap. So when there is a cap, you're more likely to get called. You're going to get called a little bit lighter. So you just play it kind of as a limit. In some situations, I'm going to get quartered. I get one person who looks me up, and then the third opponent literally goes in the tank for a little bit. And you can tell that they're stressed out about it because if it was heads up, he'd be more likely to call. Well, again, this is the pickle position. When you're left three ways on the river, usually he who bets biggest first is usually going to get half the pot, or they're going to have an opportunity to scoop. Because whoever calls you light first is a little bit vulnerable, and it's less likely you're going to get two people who are going to call you light. So I go ahead and turn over the good news. He says he's got a straight on the bottom, but he only has ace deuce. So our deuce 6 is going to play for a straight on the bottom, and we have the nuts on the top. We scoop. I'm going to do something really unusual here. I'm not going to go into the in-depth analysis of this particular hand, but the reason why I'm showing you this hand is to give you a little bit of an insight or an in-depth analysis of how you can adjust your game, or when you can recognize what kind of game you're at. Now you can see I have 3, 5, 8, 9, not a very good hand. I'm on the button. People are betting. Now keep in mind the game just started, but when the game first starts off, it gives you an idea of what kind of game you can expect. Now what happens is I turn 2 pair on the turn. We're 3 or 4 ways to the turn, but it puts a straight out there, and everybody ends up checking to me. So I'm going to realize my equity. Somebody should be firing at this pot. Somebody should have blockers to a straight, but it checks all the way through again, and I announce that I have big 2 pair, and we end up scooping. I'm showing you this so that way you can recognize when you're at a game like this, you can bluff at more pots. So this is either like a Hungry Horse or Charlie Carell moment with the previous hand I just showed you. Now that you know your opponents tend to play a little bit more passive, and you can bluff at more pots, and you should be playing in position and 3-betting a little bit more. Now what are you going to do about it? So when you look down at a hand like Ace, King, Queen, 3 with just a single suit, first of all, that's not the best hand to be 3-betting with. However, because I am playing with people who are a little bit less experienced in Pot Limit Omaha, or they play a little bit tighter to the chest, hands like Ace, King, Queen play really well because they remove a lot of like pocket aces, pocket kings, pocket queens, and things of that nature. And not only that, it will play really well in position because your hands become really easy to play. Either you hit them really hard, you have some kind of hard draw, or you completely miss where it's like 5, 6, 7 of hearts and it's an easy fold. Even these types of hands like this in this situation should be 3-bet. So with that in mind, we are going to 3-bet. We are picking up the hand right when I 3-bet to $50 pre-flop. Now, another reason why you want to 3-bet when you do have a lot of experience with Pot Limit Omaha, or you're playing with people who have inexperience with Pot Limit Omaha, is they're not going to feel as comfortable in 3-bet pots. And that's the situation we have here. Flop comes 2 clubs with the straight out on the board, 3, 5, 7. My opponent, first opponent checks. The second opponent does a full pot size bet of $210. Now we have a player in between us, and I'm going, what is he going to do? Because I'm pretty sure I'm going to call having the nut clubs and bottom pair here. So I'm definitely not going to go anywhere. I like to call. I imagine my opponent might have a straight here or a set. In any case, I'm just hoping a club comes on the turn and it just makes everything a lot easier. And lo and behold, we're going to go heads up to the turn. Other players get out of the way, and the 8 of clubs pops off, and my opponent just leads for $630. Had I not 3-bet this pre-flop, he might not be leading because he probably had something like 4-6 with clubs. And I end up calling, and the river comes with 4 hearts, and we're going to end up scooping a nice $2,500 pot. But I show this hand because, again, a lot of people are uncomfortable with 3-bet pots pre-flop, and because of doing that, he may have misplayed in a $2,000 pot. Now, since we do know that players are playing a little tighter to the chest,
and they're not going to put up much resistance, and they're not fighting for as many chips. We're going to play a few more hands. And this is actually a decent hand, ace 9 queen jack with the suited ace 9 of diamonds, but it is a family pot, so we're going 8 ways to the flop. So there's 120 in the pot, and the flop comes 6, 7, 10. Now the very first player to act just decides to open pot for $120, or not the small blind, but the very first player who limped. When it folds around to me, I have a decision here. I can either call and hope I'm in position with my 2 opponents folding behind me, or I can fold. Now, I don't have very many outs here. I mean, I am drawing to theoretically 3 8s, but I do have a queen of spades blocker, and I believe I can outplay my opponent. Now, when you do this, it's important to know how big their stack size is, because he bet 120. He started with about $700, so he has about $600 left behind. So when the king of spades comes off and we're heads up on the turn, so everybody folds and he decides to check to me, now I have to enact my plan of action of stealing this pot from him or bluffing it from him. When you do that, you have to make sure you factor in what his stack size is, because if I just do a full pot size bet here of $360, he's less likely to fold if he has something like jack high spades or maybe even like 10 high spades. If I bet like I want him to call something like half pot size bet, $180, it'll give me enough opportunity where if nothing changes on the river, I can now represent a queen high spade, and I can do a full pot size to put maximum pressure on him. So it's really important when you're deciding to bluff at a pot and you understand that the table is generally a little bit tighter, you do still factor in their stack sizes. And the other thing is if he is trapping and I bet $180 and he like check raises me to 600, I can easily get rid of the hand because 1, I don't have a queen high spade flush at all, but 2, some players like that are just gonna misplay their hands and show me when they have the nuts. So I bet $180, he ends up folding it, and we end up picking up one. This is a question I get asked a decent amount of time, which is, Professor, what are the worst aces that you'll get it in with pre-flop? Or how should I play really crappy aces? Well, ace, king, deuce with no suit is generally really bad aces. But they're still aces, so you're still going to have a little bit more equity than most of your opponents. So I like to make it to $30. And we get a couple of callers, and then somebody in the big blind decides to repot it. Now, I know what you're thinking, Professor, if you're at a game where people are a little bit inexperienced, obviously they're only going to be repotting with pocket aces as well. So if you have really bad aces like ace, king, deuce, you should probably just lay it down. And there is some validity in that, but at the same time, I'm up a bunch. I'm not going to lock in my chips. Not only that, but my opponent can be raising with hands that are not as good as pocket aces. And I'm just going to take that shot. Now, I do understand that I could be giving my opponent like a 60-40 chance to completely double up. And why give your opponent a 40% chance to double up? And that's a very solid argument. My counter argument is if you play poker for a living, your poker session is like one ginormous session during your entire life. And even if you have a 60-40 against your opponents, you need to maximize that as often as you possibly can, because he could have hands like kings or queens or jacks or who knows what he has. I do have to apply the pressure. Now, the good news is he's only got about $875 or so. Plus, I'm not completely in position. I do want to get the button out of the way. If I just call $170 and play position post-flop, I might get outplayed by the button because he has position on me. So by raising, it ensures that I should be heads up. He decides to rip it all in as I expected. Now, lo and behold, my opponent asks me if I want to run it once or twice. Now, normally I only run it once if I'm in a casino. Because I am at a house game and because I am the pro at the table and I do have an edge, I do believe in situations like this it makes way more sense to run it twice. So we do agree to run it twice. I tell him I have aces. We see the run out and we end up scooping on both boards. As you can see, my opponent here has 9 jack, king double suited. And that was a good enough hand for him to go with it. And with those clean runouts, we're going to end up scooping a pretty big pot here. But again, even with bad aces in some situations, you have to get it all in. During the series, I got it all in 3 times with pocket kings and big O, twice in cash games, both for over $1,000 in a 1-2-5 cash game. And every single time I was right. So every situation is just dependent upon the players, the situation, the table you're at. And in this case, we were fortunate enough because we end up winning about an $1,800 pot on this. Now, I'm not going to lie, it's pretty nice when you keep running hot, your reads are on, you're playing position, you're playing really well, and then the deck just keeps hitting you square in the nuts. We're in the $10 straddle. We have a $40 raise under the gun, first one in, and we've got a total of 4 of us going to the flop, and lo and behold, the flop comes 8-8-7. I mean, anybody can play hands like this, but the important thing is what makes the difference between a real pro and an amateur is if they get paid off on this. So checking on the flop is not that big of a deal. Most people are going to check here. I go ahead and call. We're heads up going into the turn. Now the turn's the 4 of spades. It doesn't change anything besides it gives me the redraw to the straight flush draw. But what is he betting over half pot size bet on the flop? Maybe he's got like pocket sevens. Maybe he's got like kings or queens. I want to keep all of those hands in there. So I actually down bet. This is really to confuse my opponent. He has about $400 left. It's enough to keep him in, and it's enough if he wants to jam right there to find out where he's at, he can. So he decides to call. River comes the 10 of diamonds, and I check. It's very rare you see people check quads in pot limit Omaha, especially on the river. When he bets 220, I just let him know the bad news. I put in 3 purple. He's only got another $200 left. He calls. I turn over the bad news. And sometimes we're just running ungodly hot, and that's what's happening right here. We're doing really well. So here we are again on the button in a game where people don't fight for chips quite as much. And we have the monstrous 3-4-5 queen with 3 clubs in our hand. Now, to be all fair, the deck is just hitting me square in the nuts. But when it's $15 and we have a family pot, again, no one's 3-betting here. We can see a lot of flops for fairly cheap for our stack sizes. So when the flop's deuce 4-5, and I have top 2 pair with an open-ended straight draw, and everybody checks me and I'm on the button, I'm just going to bet a little bit because I'm on a draw. I bet 1/4 pot, $40 into a $160 pot or $120 pot. Now we end up getting 2 callers, and lo and behold, the turn pops up the 4 of spades. So yes, in fact, we do have the second nuts. Anybody who had ace-3 or 3-6 is now in trouble. I want to keep those hands in there, but so I bet $75. A lot of players will end up over-betting their opponents and be worried that somebody might be drawing with like an ace-4. I'm okay with that. We get 2 callers, and we go to the river, and the river really doesn't change anything. A 7 of spades. I mean, if somebody's got 4-7, okay. But when both players decide to check it to me, I bet $150. Again, I want to bet small enough that an ace-3 calls me. If I do a full pot size bet here, it'll look way too obvious. The guy snap calls me. I end up turning over that I have 4s full of 5s. I know he didn't have a 4 because the guy to my left told me he had 4 deuce. So I'm pretty sure he had ace-3 and he just played it passively. And in situations like this, it's important that you maximize spots like this because people are not 3-betting enough, they're not playing their hands enough, like even ace-3 should have led here on the flop. But poker is a game about mistakes, and it's also a game about maximizing or capitalizing on your opponent's mistakes. And so far, that's what we've been doing all night. Honestly, when I look back at this hand, I'm kind of surprised we didn't get it all in pre. And the reason why is because there's an initial raise for $20. I'm in the cutoff. I flat with kings with 1 suit. Small blind decides to give the other player the option, and he makes it 40. That other player decides to re-raise to 80, and I'm the monkey in the middle. I'm caught in between, and I have a $80 hand. I'm not going to go anywhere. And at this point, I'm debating, do I re-raise or do I just flat? And I'm like, you know what? I think I'm going to see what develops. So I flat, and my opponent in the small blind decides to pop it up to $200. He's giving him yet another option. Now, he decides to call, and I'm sitting here going, well, it's 120 more for me to call. I think if he made it like 250 or 300, I still would have called if it ended up where the other player called because he only started off with about 600 or 650 in his stack. So we're going 3 ways to the flop where everybody's SPR is 1-to-1. I mean, mine's higher, but the effective SPR is 1-to-1. So when the flop comes king of clubs, 4 of spades, 8 of spades, first of all, no, I did not sacrifice my first child or anything like that. I am just running ungodly. But when they both check to me, I'm tanking and I'm looking at their stacks. One has a stack of like 650. The other one has a stack of like 450. So there's really no way to play this sneaky. I just have to play it up front. I bet 600. he mucks aces, the other player mucks, and I just show him exactly how hot I am running. It's ungodly when I run like this.
But in the game, we are in for $1,000, and we are out for $52.30. As you can see, it's sunlight out. It's a 3-hour drive one way for me to play a game, but for me to win $4,200, it ends up making it worthwhile. I just played my A game, and then I was catching a shitload of cards too. That always helps. So, but yeah, good shit. It was a good session, much needed session. I like cash sessions, and I cannot lie. So, it was funny in the game. The double board bomb pot. There's two players that hadn't really ever played double board bomb pot, and I suggested putting a cap on it because of the philosophy that, for two reasons. One, you don't want it to break the game. Two, you can shear a sheep several times but only skin it once. And I think the guy, one of the pure wrecks that, it was like his first time ever playing double board bomb pot. He was real happy that he only lost 300 with how big the pots were back and forth. So he felt like he played really good. So it's good. That's what you want pure wrecks to feel like they played good even when they lost, and they feel good about it, so. But it was actually a great group of guys. Like, one of those guys I traveled with a couple of times, Old Lou Gambles is the other vlogger. We just started up. So if you haven't already, go ahead and check out his channel. His link will be down below. Old Lou Gambles. It's funny because he made a couple of videos and he goes, oh my god, he's like, making a 10-minute video takes, and I'm like, yeah, I know, I'm like 10 hours. He said, welcome to vlogging. I said, now you know why most vloggers only survive, like on average, 3 years. So, but yeah, that's a good way to finish the week. We're mid-July and we're doing really well. So, yeah. Play smart, everybody, and run like a god.